pinstripe removal on a 1988 560 SL. I know people are saying, oh my God, get that off that vehicle's finish. How dare you put things down? Well, this car hasn't been detailed yet. We'll be getting a two-step paint correction after the pinstripe removal. What we use is Optimum No Rinse. Been using this product for over 20 years. A lot of people will use just plain water. I like the fact that Optimum No Rinse adds a little bit more lubrication to the mixture of what you're spraying onto the painted pinstripe, and that's what we use. We use the Optimum No Rinse. We use about 3 or 4 ounces diluted in that 32-ounce spray bottle, and I like to use 3M 2000 grit sandpaper. 1200, 1500 will do the job faster, but it's more aggressive. So I typically use 2000 so that we're removing a minimal amount of clear coat when we're removing the pinstripe. So when you're removing a painted pinstripe, you have to be very careful of any edge. You don't want to sand the edge. Some people will tape the edges. I've been removing pinstripes for well over 20 years, so I can get away with not taping the edge. I know exactly how to sand the stripe off without hitting the edge. You got to be real careful because there's always paint that usually is actually on the edge of the door and the fender, so that area you kind of, I do that usually right at the end. But you take the 2000 grit 3M sandpaper, I fold it into 4. Some people will use a block. I don't use a block. I just very slowly start sanding the stripe and keep the surface lubricated. You'll see. Always avoid the edge. Nice, smooth, even strokes. And you'll see that the thinner section of the stripe has already been removed. And we're working on the thicker section of the stripe. I'm being very careful not to be rubbing the edge. You do this enough and you just have a feel with your hands of where the edge is, and you kind of just keep the paper off the edge. You see in that short amount of time, I removed about 50% of the pinstripe in that section. With the more coarse lower number paper, like a 1500 or a 1200, you'll save a lot of time, but you're using something more aggressive, so it removes more clear coat. So I like using the 2000 grit paper when removing a stripe. Got to be real careful towards the ends, towards the edges. Be very gentle. If you're sanding the edge, be very, very gentle. Don't apply a lot of pressure. Remember that, you know, the clear is thinnest on the edge, and you don't want to burn through the clear. Use the spray as lubrication for the paper, and it also washes away the excess paint. You see in that short amount of time, I was able to remove the stripe, and without taking off a great deal of clear coat in the process. So that's basically how you remove a hand-painted pinstripe. And the next step is you're going to have to compound and polish out, because this area is now, with the abrasive, it has a rough finish to it. So you compound, of course, avoiding the edges when you compound, and then polish it out. You can do it by hand. It's going to take you a great deal of effort. Doing it by machine is highly recommended. If you're not proficient with the use of a rotary polisher, I highly recommend using a dual action polisher like a Roops or a Flex machine. But that's how we remove hand painted pinstripes. All right, I just wet sanded off the painted on pinstripe, and you can see it's completely removed on this 88 560 SL. No ghosting left behind, thank God. Sometimes when a pinstripe sits on a paint finish for a long period of time, you will see, even when the pinstripe is removed, there'll be what I call ghosting left behind. So the stripe actually almost like tattoos itself into the clear coat. We don't have that issue with this car. Occasionally you'll get that. There's really nothing you can do about it. If the pinstripe sat on the clear coat or the single stage finish for many, many years, sometimes it will actually bake from UV exposure into the finish, and it cannot be 100% removed. Usually it's like 90%. So the second step involves polishing with like a wool pad, a compounding actually. I like the 3M compounds. That'll get out the haziness that's in the clear coat. And then the second step with like a machine polish, using a rotary. And for the final finish, I like using like a 3M ultra fine machine polish, and that will bring the finish of this car up to a show quality. So that's a quick tutorial on how to remove a hand-painted pinstripe. I remove a lot of pinstripes, both taped on pinstripes and hand-painted. Out of the two, I prefer removing the hand-painted, because the taped on pinstripes, after 30, 40 years, sometimes the adhesion material that is used really bonds hard to the clear coat. But this one was a walk in the park. The elapsed time, it took me about 20 minutes to remove this side of the pinstripes. So, you know, allow yourself about an hour to get both sides done. Take your time, don't rush it, don't use too aggressive a paper. And that's just a quick tutorial on how we remove hand-painted pinstripes.